I had a dream that two people died. It was my dad and my other best friend. And that was the beginning of being verified as a prophetic dreamer.
Hello, welcome to Impact the World, where my guest today is Happy Ali. So I first met Happy several years ago when he had me as a guest on his podcast, and he has been teaching intuition and manifestation for many years as an online teacher, as a coach, as a speaker, and he just brought out a book called The Intuition Bible, which is how to tap into your inner wisdom. So in this conversation, we chat about his book and also his journey with spirit and how spiritual messages have come to him, and also fatherhood and what being a single dad has been like for him in his life. So hope you enjoy the conversation with Happy. You can find him and all of his work at happyinsights.net. And here we go with Happy on the Intuition Bible. Happy, welcome to Impact the World. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Lee. I'm really excited. Let's see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, well, we first met a few years ago. I was a guest on your show, your podcast, Happy Insights. You interviewed me because I had a book coming out at the time. And that's how we first met. And I remember talking not long after to you about the fact that you now were working with New World Library and you had this book coming out, The Intuition Bible. So it's nice to flip the tables and have you here to talk about your book. So how did this come to be, The Intuition Bible?
Well, the book itself was downloaded to me one night when I was stuck doing another book. So I was writing a book called The Heart Lens about how much more beneficial life can be if you can see it through the lens of the heart. And I was kind of stuck. And I did this thing where I learned it from Oprah, so it has to be valid. And I did this meditation or a prayer that said, use me to the best of my ability. And I'm talking to my guides or whoever it is, and bring forth whatever humanity needs the most at this moment. And I really feel that I have a unique way of interpreting things where it's more digestible. So I just lay down, went to sleep, and in the morning I woke up with 15 chapters of the book, which I thought was the whole book. I was so excited. I said, I'm going to finish this book in 3 weeks. And then I started writing, and more chapters came through. And before I knew it, I had 29 chapters. And I would have been like 31, but New World Library would have killed me. It's too much.
Too many words. So the book came out last year, and how I know it's had beautiful reviews from people, and I've also was impressed with how many exercises you put into the book. So it is very user-friendly. It is like a manual to get in touch with knowledge about intuition, but also trying out different things for exercises, which is great. How have you found having this out in the world and people's response to it?
First of all, I already know most people will not do the exercises. I know some people will. So when I wrote the book, I already assumed that half the readers will not do the exercises. So I wanted to be
And why did you assume that? I'm just interested.
Because of myself. I've read so many amazing books, and when it comes to the exercise, or I listen to it on tape, or I'm driving or something, and I don't have the time to do it, and before you know it, a new book comes along. But I wanted to make sure that it really, the text aspect of it, got into how everything works. And I wanted to take it, a vague topic like intuition, and make it digestible and simple to understand, and make it a textbook. So that was the first intention. So if you just read that, it's amazing. I hope so. I hope it's amazing. And then the exercises themselves were just kind of popped up, because every time I was teaching something, there was an exercise that either I had learned from somewhere else and I tweaked it a little bit, or someone would just come through me, and I would have to do the exercise to see if it works, because when you're receiving information, you first write it or say it, and then later you have to look back at it and see what it actually was. And because the book, I really genuinely feel the style of the book, all of it was channeled through me, most of it. I really felt that I was not too much in control of what was coming out. But some of it I learned from, I think there's even exercise that I learned from you that's in there about, writing whatever your higher self says, something. But I give you credit for whatever it is. You're in there multiple times. But it was one of those things. And I think I've been studying and living a metaphysical life for about 30 years now. So there was so much information and so much that came through me that we had to find the source for it. Because if you write a book, they want to know where you sourced it from. And then I had to Google it after to see who said that or where that could have come from. And then we sourced it after. But there's not a lot of sources given at the end of the book or anything. It's mostly just whatever came through.
Right. We'll be right back to the conversation in just a moment, so stay tuned. London, are you ready for energy mastery? Who here likes the idea of a little bit of gentleness after the last few months? Yeah, me too.
Embrace your power and transform your life over a weekend of cosmic connection and soul expansion with Lee Harris.
When you come together with a focused intent to increase your energy mastery, and you do that with a group of people, incredible amplification happens.
Join us for channeled wisdom, grounded teaching, soul-infused music with Devor Bozique, community participation, and connection.
You never know who's going to show up, you never know what's going to be asked, you never know what's going to be focused in the room. It's the beauty of being live with each other that is its own co-creative mystery.
Energy Mastery with Lee Harris, September 13th and 14th in London. Limited seating, reserve now.
You said to me earlier before we got into this conversation that in your lineage, in your family, there is a bit of a through line here with intuition and dreams. You spoke about how in your family line there is you said the family can sometimes be a little competitive about dreams, and it was very funny. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, I'm a prophetic dreamer now by trade. Mm-hmm. And I cannot believe I'm calling myself a prophetic dreamer, because every time you do something that's unusual, you kind of have to come out as that. But I was outed because I had a prophetic dream that I had a son, and I was 28 at the time, or 29, and I was gay, partying, no money, no direction in life, nothing. And in my dream, they said, "You're having a son." And I said, "Well, I'm gay and I'm not having a son." Like, "Nope, you're having a son." This is the mom who was one of my best friends, and she was 9 months pregnant, and her wife came from around her and sat her down and pulled this baby out of her belly and said, "Here's your son, Cyrus." And I remember I held this baby, and it changed my life, because I'd never loved something the way that I loved that kid. And I was crying, and I woke up and I couldn't wait to tell my best friend that we're having a baby and it's a boy. And we did it through the turkey baster method, because I wanted to be as natural as possible. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up having my son, Sky. We didn't like the name Cyrus that came with the dream. And later, 4 years later, I had a dream that 2 people died. It was my dad and my other best friend. And that was the beginning of being verified as a prophetic dreamer. And 2.5 months later, my son and my best friend died in a car crash. Mm. And I had had 2 dreams by then about that, the car accident and the death. So at that time, I came online, and everybody believed everything that I said, because I would write it on Facebook in advance. Mm. And then my son kept showing up in my dream, my dead son, and he guided me to my twins that I have now. He showed me them. He introduced me to them. I saw them as adults. And I had no money. I got into UCLA the day after my son died, and I only got back into school because of my son. So when he died, and the next day I got into UCLA, I was like, that's kind of mean. At least let me enjoy my admission to UCLA for one day before you kill my kid. And when I talk to the universe. But I had no money. I really had no money. And then just money showed up out of nowhere. And $100,000 just came out of nowhere, and twins are now 8. So it's my entire life now is because of the direction that I was given in my dreams, my intuition. And that's why I think it's so important that I'm the one that writes this or teaches this, because it probably would have been really lost.
And if you don't mind, I know that grief is such a massive transformer of our lives. How was that for you to lose your son at such a young age? How did, as you said, it brought your spiritual gifts online, but how was it for you just as a human being during that period of time afterwards, in the months afterwards? How did it change you?
Well, I was split into two. I was split in half. Half of me was just dying, because that was a human part of me. The other half of me lives very much in the spiritual world, and I was getting visitations and knowledge and information, and I didn't feel like I lost him. And I already knew that the accident wasn't an accident; it was on purpose. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dreamt it 2.5 months prior. So it was like this calm that I had underneath the intense pain. And I tend to joke about stuff, so I was always making jokes and cracking jokes. But, it's painful. Going through any pain is not a joke. I mean, losing your kid, I was on the floor a lot of times, or I thought I was watching TV for an hour and the TV was off. And you're a zombie. Like, I remember going to sleep and seeing him and hugging him, and then waking up and then him not being there. And it was just like, it was really difficult. But I was very fortunate because I had his other mother who helped me create this baby, and we went through it together. So losing a child together, losing her wife, my best friend, and it was a really rough time. And I also adopted their daughter when I had my son. So because she was already my goddaughter, and I didn't really feel like it was fair for her not to have a dad. So here we are, like the outer edge of this family, the wife, the daughter, the best friend, and the heart just died. And then the cool part is I asked them why they died. And each of them had a very specific answer as to why they died. So I receive it in my dreams. And my best friend said, I died at 40 because my life had become something that I did not intend when I came into this world. And being a mom and having family, as good as it wasn't what my soul wanted to achieve in this world. So it was a very soul-oriented, selfish, in a positive way, reason. And my son, he said, I came into this world to bring a bunch of you together, and I left to put you on your paths. And it was so accurate. It was so dead on. And it was so cool to be able to get that message. So I had a much better grieving process than my best friend, Rachel.
Yeah.
My baby mama.
It's interesting you say that, because just, 6 months ago, there was some message that the Z's were giving I can't remember whether it was live in a workshop room or an online course I was doing, where they talked about babies or young children who come in for a limited period of time, and they know that before they even incarnate. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because on a human level, I think the fear of all parents is that their child won't survive, or that their goal is to keep the child alive and raise the child. So it's like the ultimate, if you like, ultimate grief that people can go through. And yet it was interesting, the Z's were saying exactly what you just said about Sky.
That they come for a purpose. The funny thing is, he only wanted to eat Nutella and have French fries. And I remember he was throw up if you give him burger or a piece of chicken, unless it was chicken nugget. And I thought, what an amazing life to live 4.5 years of chocolate and French fries.
That's one way to live.
Yeah. Well, and you get to graduate early.
Right.
So I don't think a lot of people appreciated this, but at his eulogy, when I was speaking, I said, I am so proud of my son for accomplishing what he wanted to accomplish in such a short period, when all of you have to go through so much hell and so much turmoil and difficulties. But my son got to just have Nutella and ice cream, and that was his life. And I really feel he was more of an angelic soul, because he really did have an angelic effect on us. And I think he also needed to take his mom with him. So he kind of came to take her. So it's really about other people. I know in the Kabbalah, they say children that die under 5 it's usually because of the karma of the people around them. And then they're here to kind of do their own thing, but it's really the impact that they have on other people. And I noticed that my 4-year-old had a larger impact on everyone around him than most people do when they live to be 80.
Right. And again, that's something the Z's have said in the channels. They say that your death is never just about you, that there is a timing for your death, that when is the right time to have the largest effect on the people around you. And so I always think of like a Princess Diana figure and what a massive impact she had. I mean, she's an extreme example because, you know, she was one of the most famous people in the world. But at the same time, you apply that same logic to the timing of a person's passing. But let's just jump to the fact that he showed you your boys now, your twins now. So what was that?
Well, about a week after he died, I was drying him off from the bath. Well, obviously in the dream. And he said, "Daddy, you're going to have another baby." And I was so upset because I didn't want to go through that pain again, or the potential of the pain. And then the next time he showed me this curly-haired toddler, I was in the pool with him. And there was another kid outside out of the pool, and that looked just like Sky. And I assumed it was Sky, but now I'm thinking that it was the other twin. And the other one has curly hair, dark hair. So it was very much, I got to meet them, and I needed some coercion. It was not like something I was going to do lightly. I was 30 something. I wanted to find a husband and live my life and not be that guy with the kids and the dead baby and all this stuff. But my son was very convincing. And another thing he told me, which was really cool, was he said, "When you look for me, I'm not a kid anymore. I was in a kid's body, but I look for someone in their prime." So now when he visits me, he's around like 30 something years old. It's kind of weird because I'm like petting his hair and holding this little boy that's like 30 something.
Right.
But then he showed me them as adults with a unique personality. They looked very different. So I think that was more of just to give me some, it was a way to give me some ease that they're not going to die.
And what has the experience been for you of raising these 2 boys and being their dad? And
It's amazing. I mean, I think it's the biggest gift I ever had. I mean, I think my career right now would be way more advanced if I wasn't a single dad.
right.
But they're very spiritual, very in tune, and one is very emotional in terms of in touch with his emotions as if he's not from this planet. And the other one's very much earthy, and has strong emotions, but they're more tantrums, and he's the perfectionist. And so it's nice. We're the Holy Trinity, in my opinion, because they have certain qualities, and together I have more fun with them than I have with a lot of adults. And I get to have these deep conversations. They want to astral, and we were timing human magic manifestation with the level of emotion that we're using. We're like, okay, we need to see a rainbow, but it has to be like this way. So let's see how long it takes. So, and one of them is the one that has a very strong focus and very strong emotions. The perfectionist is a master manifester, has been his whole life since he was a little baby. And he's 8 now. Master. And the other one whose emotions are all over the place and he tries to regulate himself, he's not a master manifester. But he is more in touch with other people's feelings, so he's a complete empath. So it's really beautiful to see and have. It's like, in a way, they're like my experimental rats. When I was like writing this book, I was doing the exercises. I was like, "Honey, can you do this for me?" You know, so they would do it, and one would get results, one wouldn't. I pull them up on stage and I ask them if they can do certain exercises, and one's like, and they're honest. One's like, "I feel it right here," and the other one's like, "I feel nothing." So they're my little I don't know, extensions.
That's great.
I honestly, this is the life I would have chosen for myself. But I don't think I would know how to get here had I not had the inner voices and the dreams are just a tiny portion of what I experience and what I teach. That's just when you're sleeping. The rest of the stuff is when you're awake.
So when did your intuition come online for you?
So this is a Madonna story I want to share with you. Obviously
And we're talking about Madonna, the pop star.
Madonna,
not
pop star,
necessarily
not
Madonna.
that,
Yeah,
no.
we just have to check.
So first of all, intuition comes online the minute you're born, because we're more tapped in at that time than later. And it's between instinct and intuition. So that's separate. But the moment there was two things that happened. One was somebody told me, someone asked me a question and asked me to check in with my intuition and said, "You're an intuitive person. Tell me what you think." And I think that crept into my brain in a way that changed my belief system. Because your belief system is what determines how intuitive you are or not, or how whatever it is you are. And that was the first thing. And I want to get into that a little bit more in a bit. But that was the first thing. So my belief system said I was intuitive. So I accepted that as fact. Then one day I wanted to go to Madonna's house. And I'd seen a picture of it. I didn't know the address. I just knew it was in the Hollywood Hills. I had just gotten my permit. I was 15. And I stole my mom's car and decided to just go. And I went, and the hills are very windy and there's no sense to them. So I would go to each intersection and say right, left, or forward. And I would get a feeling and I would take whatever my intuition told me to do. Take go that way. And without making one U-turn, I was in front of her house, not like within like 20 minutes. And I think that was like the biggest aha moment for me. I thought I was a witch or whatever. Back then, it was the 90s. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea. There was no terms for a lot of this stuff that we have now. And there was no internet. But I found her house, and that was huge. I didn't have as much luck finding my way back down.
Right.
Because I wasn't so...
So you didn't ring the doorbell just on the off chance she wanted to have a cup of tea?
No, of course
okay.
not. I won't come across as a creeper, but I will be one. But I really think like everybody has access to their inner wisdom. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the things that I always tell people is, first of all, you got to be aware that there's 11 million bits of data that hits you from your inner and outer senses at each moment in your life. So 11 million bits, but only 167 of that 11 million is what your conscious mind can process. Now, your brain, your subconscious has to decide what that 167 bits of information is going to be. So it uses your belief system, what you think about the world, what you think about yourself, your lacks and limitations to decide what to show you so it is congruent with how you view yourself and the world. And if you get anything outside of that, what you think is true, you get thrown off your equilibrium, and this world's hard enough as it is. So if you don't think that intuition is important, if you don't think that you are intuitive, if you don't think there's an inner world, it's not going to get included in your 167 bits of data. So you are intuitive. Everybody's intuitive. Everyone has access to everything anyone else does. It's just a matter of whether you can convince yourself and shatter beliefs that are holding you back. I call them confining beliefs because they keep you locked up. And I think that very first statement, that you're an intuitive, Happy, you should know this, was how I became comfortable being intuitive. And my family fostering the idea that there's premonitions in dreams allows my subconscious to pull those premonition dreams out so I can experience them. And a lot of different stuff that I'm able to do is because of my belief system. So that's why when I wrote the book, I really wanted it to help shatter people's beliefs so that anyone can read it and then get something out of it and tap into their inner world. Because the inner wisdom that we have access to, as you know, defies time and space and laws of physics. So why walk blindly through life when you can learn to tap into those inner silent voices? But the problem is, now somebody said, well, our society has wiped intuition out of our brain and has trained us to be these robots. And I always disagree and say, no, our five senses are meant to be louder than your inner voices, because you have to make sure you don't fall into a ditch. So no matter how loud your intuition screams, it'll be a whisper compared to what your five senses, try to give you, and when they try to give you information or they convey.
Yeah. And I think people are using intuition in ways they don't even realize our intuition. It's just, so I think there's another layer, isn't there, that there is a doorway that people are scared of, I think, or have been trained to be scared of. And yet actually it's not that big a deal when you walk through it, if it's your path to walk through it. And on that note, how have your family found you doing this work and standing for this work, especially as there is some level of it within your family? Do they like the fact that you're out there doing this? And
well, first of all, and I'm sure you know this personally, as long as you write a book, they love it. And I was always the crazy one anyway, so they love me for who I am. I was the first one, I was out as a gay guy in a Persian family. I always tend to bend the rules.
yeah.
But my family sees the results. They see how my life is like a magical experience that others don't have unless they apply some of the same principles. My mom is a master manifester, for example, because it was all about manifestation before. And I did subconscious manifestation. I always believe there's two huge forces in the world that help manage your life on autopilot: your subconscious and universal laws. And if you learn how they both work, you can chill and let them do the work. So it all started from manifestation, and they can't argue with me when it comes to manifestation, because my life is just kind of magical. My children, my home, everything is just magical.
And earlier you mentioned $100,000 landing when you had no money. How did that manifest?
I don't know. It was everywhere from, I don't know, people owing me money. I went from like literally working the same job and making like $35 an hour to doubling it. So my hourly doubled for many reasons that I don't want to get into too much detail. But it was magic. It was basically human magic is what I call it. And it's really just remembering that your energy first. And energy speaks. No. And you have to really, truly, remember that your everything is energy first. And if you want to be limited to this finite physical world, you're only going to get what you're going to get. And once you realize that this is just a tiny little bit of what reality is, and you learn how to manipulate the rest and work with the rest and know when to act. For example, the agency that I chose for my children, I chose them in the surrogate agency. It was in Mexico. I Googled, I just put my hand on the computer and said, that's the one. No more research. That was it. I know that sounds crazy. I don't recommend it unless you're really in tuned, but that was the one. They did everything they did. And then when I picked my egg donor, it was very similar, but I did pick someone else, and she had a ovarian cyst at that moment. So my second person was the person I went to immediately, and I didn't question it, because we are so uptight about how we want everything to be the way that we want it. It has to be our way. But the universe always has great plans. It knows so much more, and I can't even imagine having had any other donor, because then I wouldn't have had my kids. And we're in touch. I'm in touch with my surrogate, my donor, and it was all supposed to be private. So we have this huge family. It's just amazing. But you just got to go with the flow, listen to the whispers, because the problem is when you don't listen to the whispers, intuition and the inner messaging never stops. It never stops. It just gets louder. So when you don't listen to the whispers, then it says, hey, look over here. And then, hey, here's a hammer. I'm going to hit you in the head with it. Oh, you didn't let me uproot your entire life. And, and the cool thing is I define intuition as information that comes from anywhere other than your logical mind. So it could be from your body, your gut feelings, or it could be from the universe at large, because that is a single body and we're all a part of it. We're just like a little atom or a molecule, an atom or a molecule, I guess more molecule in this entire universe. And we're all one. So when you don't hear the messages, the universe will bring you patterns, for example. And I go into a lot of detail in my classes and my book about how each pattern, if you recognize a pattern, you'll notice that this is something you need to work on, because the universe goes through a lot of effort. Well, it uses resources to bring you the same person over and over and over again after you kick that person out of your life, for example, to make sure that your patterns continue. So the second you learn your lesson, it won't use those resources anymore. It just brings you someone brand new or something brand new. So I would say if you're stuck in something, it means the universe is doing its utmost of putting in all the effort to make sure that you're experiencing this thing over and over and over again. So I think intuition comes from everywhere. I just had to use the word intuition because that word came to me, and I wasn't really my choice. My choice was to call it how to access your inner wisdom. And so I think that there's so much more to us. I mean, you know this. I'm preaching to the choir here.
It's okay. Well, it's funny. You're teaching your intuitive classes. I know you coach people one-on-one. I met you because of your podcast. What compelled you to decide to do a podcast as part of your path and your work? Because I know you've been doing it now for many years. And what I like, you said this to me earlier, is that you don't try and do a weekly show, or you just do it when you feel it. But that's how I first met you and came across you. So yeah, what compelled you to do it?
To be honest, in the very beginning, I needed a hobby because my life became my work. So teaching, coaching, helping became a chore. So I needed a hobby. I needed something that was going to be just for fun. Didn't realize it was going to require editing and camera and lighting and you know. And I didn't want to have guests on the show. I wanted it to just be 20 minutes of me teaching some lesson and then moving on. So it'd be more educational. And then somebody I love and admire so much, that is very famous, and who I know very
Madonna?
well.
Not Madonna.
No, she's in our field.
Okay.
She turned me down when I asked her to be my first guest. And she said, oh, my publishers, blah, blah, blah. She had her reasons, but it wasn't good enough for me. Because I thought, God, she's like my mom to me. How could she say no? But her saying no made me come up with a list. I said, I'm going to pick 5 people that I want on my show and that I want in my world. And it was Lee Harris, Sheila Gillette, it was Wendy Kennedy, Bashar, and Abraham Hicks. And Abraham and Bashar don't do interviews unless Abraham doesn't do it at all, and Bashar only does it, you know, if it's like a big production. So I just was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then I reached out, and I had all 3 of you on my show. One took 4 years, Wendy. God, I love her so much.
She's great.
And
Sheila's wonderful too. She's been on the show, and I really, the other 2 I respect very much with their work. But yeah, no, I think I saw Esther interviewed. She did a great interview called "The Secret Behind the Secret" many years ago with Jerry, and it was where they were talking about the making of The Secret and how they ultimately got cut out, and it was very fascinating. Yeah,
and that was actually the interview that they did. I think it was after. I don't know. It was. So I think it was the same guy that. I'm trying to see. I know him, but I think she was a little bitter, Esther, about the whole process.
I think it was still fairly fresh, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then they changed the name. Now it's called something else.
Oh, okay.
So it has no affiliation with her bitterness towards The Secret anymore. But it was her teaching that, you know,
well, I managed to, because at the time file sharing was the thing.
Yeah, I have that too.
A friend of mine showed me the original version of The Secret before they cut her out of it. And it was fantastic.
I know, I have that. That's the one I show people.
Yeah.
If they need to see it. But I love Rhonda. Like, I've worked with her for years, but as a makeup artist, like all the inside of her books is me.
Right.
Rhonda's daughter is one of my best friends, who actually, So the cover, it's the editor of The Secret did the little quote. And
Nice.
That's Rhonda's daughter.
Nice.
And she didn't do my forward like I asked her. No, I love Rhonda. She's always so busy. She just finished 3 books, and she's submitting 3 full books and working on a 4th one. I'm
Wow.
like, how does she even come up with all this stuff? So I love and respect and admire her a lot.
Great. So one question then for you about the podcast. What has surprised you about having guests on your show? Anything surprised you or been unexpected for you?
So meeting you and then your publicist, which is our publicist,
because I don't have a publicist. I think you mean the
our publicist for our book, for our books.
New World Library when you release a book.
When we have a book, we have the same publicist for our book.
Kim, the wonderful Kim.
The wonderful Kim, who just got promoted.
Who was also a guest on the show. I had Kim on the show a few years back.
I'm so happy for her right now. She just started feeding me people. And then soon I realized that everyone has the same message. They go through some really difficult period in their lives and they wake up and then now they want to help others. So I got really bored. That was the first thing that I want to tell you.
Yeah.
I got bored with my guests and I didn't want them. So I took a long time off to really restructure the show the way I wanted it to. And then this year I've had a few guests, but it was I had Regina Meredith on the show, Wendy Kennedy. Those are my only 2 guests. And I had people just come up and have just someone to bounce off ideas with. So it was not a real guest. It was more like a co-host. Yeah. So, but I'm really enjoying the podcast aspect because it really has opened my world to people that I would never meet. Because, you have a big studio. I do not. I have a small studio. And I am a one-man show pretty much.
I started with a small studio. I had no studio, and then I had a small studio. So, it's all a journey.
Yes. But right now it's very isolating. So it's nice to meet people, like-minded people. And it's almost like they're being cherry-picked. Everyone, you're all authors. You're all trying to save the world. And no one lives in LA. I'm like, come on. One of you got to live in LA so we can have coffee or something. You're the closest one that lives and you're far.
Right, yeah. I'm not in LA, am I?
I know. It took me an hour and something to get here today.
Yeah. We're
and you're never here.
No, I'm a bit of a moving target, but when I'm here, I'm happy to be here. Okay, so I'm going to close the conversation with this question for you. What's your vision for your future? With your manifestation power. What is it, if we could flash forward 5 years in your life, what would your ideal life look like 5 years from now?
I want to be able to reach more people and touch more people, not physically, but in their hearts. And I want to open more hearts. I think that's the key thing that I always have to remind myself, that it's not about fame. It's about me becoming the better version of myself. And I want to fully channel verbally, which is finally it's becoming more deliberate. That's my personal experience. And on a professional experience, I want to be able to speak, because go in front of a huge audience, because when I speak, I'm alive and it's just fun. And I can do 4 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, and without notes, and just have a good time and be surrounded with more like-minded people. I think a community of genuine teachers and healers. I don't like the word healers. I take that back. Genuine teachers and people that are just emanating their own light. So we're a bunch of suns creating a galaxy as opposed to sun and a bunch of moons.
What is it you don't like about the word healer? That's interesting to me.
So I think when you say, a lot of times when someone goes to a healer, they give credit to something outside of themselves healing them. I really genuinely believe that we are the one that control our energy or give up our energy. So a healer is someone who can convince you or teach you how to heal yourself. So a good healer will be someone, in my mind, that will allow you or create the space or the mindset that you need to have for you to heal yourself.
Yes.
I am a person that truly believes. I know you're a crystal junkie. You love a lot of crystals.
Am I a crystal junkie?
Well, you said you like a lot of crystals.
I do have a lot of crystals.
And I only know this because of conversation we've had. I haven't observed and looked and found it but I loved I love the concept of first being the master of your own energy, knowing that you are everything. You are a spark of God, that there is nothing bigger than you in this world, that we're all equal, nothing smaller than you either. So I like to teach people first to come into their own power. And I talk about that in my book about blocking negative energies. I said, be the most positive, happy person you can be. Work on the issues. And when you do that, you're impervious to negativity. And the only negativity that might be coming into you is sent by an angel for you to overcome something because you needed a new muscle. And I really, really, really believe that if something is broken in your body or your heart, find out why it's broken, figure out how to heal it, figure out what it's trying to tell you. It has a message. Your body and your subconscious are one, which is one with everything. And you wouldn't have a pain if there wasn't a message for you to gain or something you need to hear. So if I go to a healer, or if I'm a healer and I make your pain go away, did I actually make your pain go away? And maybe you didn't get the message, so now the pain has to come through something else. So I really think true healers are the ones who help you work through your issues. And so, but I don't like the traditional word healer. I know that was a really long.
No, and
answer.
thank you for sharing, because it's an interesting. I've just probably by the time this airs, I will have just brought out an online training called Next Level Healer. And healer was a word that I knew I had to use, even though I knew that healer is a word that I think has become very misperceived in our culture. And some of what you just shared is partly the misperception, which I think traditionally we've been told the healer is the magic person. And equally, we're all healers as far as I'm concerned. You know, there are very difficult figures in our lives who are some of our greatest healers. It doesn't mean they were going, I'm going to heal this person by being an antagonist, but because they were an antagonist, they hit your wound. But I'm kind of, I think because of this journey I've just gone through with the title of Next Level Healer, which I wrestled with, but I knew it was what I was supposed to call it. I feel like there's a moment here where we can reclaim that word. So for me, a music artist is a healer, an artist is a healer, a therapist is a healer, a nurse is a healer, a doctor is a healer. However, the way we view that word, I think has been co-opted in a way to kind of disempower people. So yeah, that's why I asked you, because I thought, well, this is interesting. Here you are working in the healing arts and you also don't like the word, which doesn't make you, it makes you not that unique. I think, I don't know, I just, for me, the healing that we all do in ourselves and need to do for ourselves, it usually requires a facilitator. It requires someone who's willing to go, I will walk into your healing space with you and consciously help you direct your healing. So that's just my...
I agree with you. I think we need facilitators. I think we together, when we come together, we uplift each other and influence each other and create the space for each other, like I was saying earlier. But I think it's
culturally we have a bit of a misconception about healer, I think. And I think, to your point, that was what you were saying. You don't like the fact that people have this, okay, you heal me and I'm nothing to do with it, which I agree with you. I think it is far more layered than that, but yeah.
It's almost giving up your own power if you, first of all, it's all semantics. A word can have a brand new meaning, as my 8-year-olds have taught me about all these new words.
And words have different meanings to different people.
Yeah.
And one person hears the same word as another and they see it completely differently.
Absolutely. And so the word is not so much, so right now, based on what I think a lot of people think a healer means, is my resistance to it. But I don't try to have resistance to anything, so I won't cross out that part of your title on your book. But I do really believe that, if you empower someone, you help, you heal them.
Yeah.
You do heal them. And that can come in any shape, and you can call yourself a healer as long as you're empowering them.
Yeah.
But if they become dependent on your energy.
Oh, yeah.
Then
codependency on a healer, never a good idea.
That's not a healer.
No.
That is not a healer at all to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in my culture, because my culture is very, superstitious, and there's like, oh, she got a demon stuck in her. Let's get that. There's certain things that we need certain people to come and heal. Or I was at another person's party. And she's really famous too, and she's more of an actress, and people usually just do whatever she says, because that's part of being an A-list celebrity. A lot of times you ask and people do, because that's just how it is.
Okay.
And she had knee surgery to make sure she can, walk in her heels for the rest of her life. And she was in a lot of pain, and she told me to put my hand on her knee because she learned about my book and who I am, and to make the pain go away. And I wouldn't do it. And I said, I know I could, because, the warmth and the energy will warm it up. I said, it was a lot of people. I said, I don't want to give the wrong impression, but I will help you with your mind numb that area. She's like, you're not getting into my mind. I said, okay, but I know that was one of those moments where I felt like she was of a Hispanic culture. So there's a lot of, there's healers would be, they would come and heal you. So she really wanted me to be that person for her. And right. I guess I was so stubborn. I just didn't do it. So
right.
That was a longer-winded answer when it came to healer, but
no, it's all good. Well, thank you, Happy. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck with all you're doing, and I'll hold space for your 5-year vision. And
5 years. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being on your show.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And the Intuition Bible is out now. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and you can find more from Happy at happyinsights.net. We will see you next time on Impact the World. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of others. London, are you ready for energy mastery? Who here likes the idea of a little bit of gentleness after the last few months? Yeah, me too.
Embrace your power and transform your life over a weekend of cosmic connection and soul expansion with Lee Harris.
When you come together with a focused intent to increase your energy mastery, and you do that with a group of people, incredible amplification happens. Think about how many of you, as you get older, marvel at how fast time is moving. Seize the limits of linear time to motivate you to live.
Join us for channeled wisdom, grounded teaching, soul-infused music with Devor Bozique, community participation, and connection.
Hit my soul in a level of wow, these are the things that I know, I'm thinking, I'm feeling, and how is somebody who I've never met speaking so much wisdom and truth?
I just saw people, their shoulders back, the light in their eyes, and the glow around their being. And I felt the same way. It's beautiful to witness.
Step into your energy mastery to reset and reconnect.
You are allowed. Create, creator, create. You never know who's going to show up. You never know what's going to be asked. You never know what's going to be focused in the room. It's the beauty of being live with each other that is its own co-creative mystery.
Energy Mastery with Lee Harris, September 13th and 14th in London.
Thank you so much for being here.
Limited seating. Reserve now.